Hey everybody, this is David Pendleton, and today I'm going to show you how to take advantage of your golden shot opportunity that you get every other week for free in Golf Clash. So every time there's a golden shot, I get a lot of messages on how to execute it. And, really, I always tell people that I use Golf Clash Tommy's chart that he comes out with. I don't think he makes it, someone else makes it, but you can find it for free on his YouTube, but it's a lot easier to find it for free on a site called, I think it's pronounced Imgur. I don't know. It's Imjur. And there you can find the screenshot that looks just like this on a guide to the golden shot. Now, you may think, well, that's easy. Just pull open the guide and hit perfect, and you're good to go. It typically is that simple. If you know the little tips and tricks and some of the small things that can mess you up. So, I get a lot of messages saying, hey, I followed the guide and I was way off. I didn't even get a ring. That's just because you're making a small mistake and you're doing something wrong that I'll cover right now to help everybody out. So, step one is to, obviously pull open this guide that I have right here, and I took a screenshot of it. So, you can print this off. You can have this open on your computer while you play on your phone or tablet. For me, I put it on my phone, and then I take the shot with my tablet so that I have a reference to take a look at this at, because there's no way you're going to memorize it, okay? So this is the first thing, and this is on the medium shot. So I'll do 2 shots on medium, and then I'll do the rest of the shots on the hard edition. And, I suggest, always do the hard edition because you get berserkers, and I think those are way more valuable than a kingmaker. But I did both just to give everybody an idea of what to do. So step number 1 that we're going to do on this guide is we're going to look at, what he says to do. So, and we're going to focus on this left-hand side area right here, okay? So if you're taking the medium shot, the first thing he says to do is find your landing position before you apply spin. And in this situation, the landing position has half of your white ring in the sand with your bounce of your ball guideline going directly into the hole. Okay? So that's the first thing that we need to look at. Now, after that is when you're going to apply your spin. And you're going to apply your spin based off the wind arrow direction. Now, this is where people normally go wrong. Normally, you outthink yourself and forget something small. When you go to find this landing position, you're going to have to move the screen around to find the right spot. And when you do that, your wind arrow angle is going to change. So if you find the landing position and then you base your spin off whatever the wind is, you're going to miss, because you have to memorize what the wind is as soon as you start the hole. And let me show you what I mean. So notice in this situation, okay, the golden shot is just getting started. So here we go. It's just getting started. It gives me my ball. It tells me to go. Notice the wind arrow right now. It's headwind, so meaning the wind is blowing at us, but there's also crosswind blowing to the left. You need to memorize this right now. Say, okay, down and to the left. Like, that's what I tell myself in my head, down and to the left. And then I find my landing position. So notice now when I'm finding my landing position, look what happens to the wind. It's more of a straight headwind. Now notice in the graph here, down and to the left is 3.8 back, 0.3 right. Direct headwind is 3.5 back, 2 left. So if we were to use the direct headwind, we would miss, because we want to use what the game gives us first before we start moving the screen around. And here's a still shot of it. So in this situation, I have it, kind of squared off in red. That's what the wind started at. And this graph right here most matches what we need to do. So now if we go back into the replay, you'll see that I followed the correct spin adjustment. So there's half the white ring in the sand. And as you can see, the ball guideline is dunking into the hole, because that's where he says to set up. And now I do the correct spin adjustment of the 3.8 back and whatever the other side spin was, 0.3 right. So 3.8 back, 0.3 right. And then from here, you just move whatever rings the graph says to move. In this situation, it looks like it was about 2.8 rings with a 4.2 mile per hour wind. And then, of course, none of this matters unless you hit a perfect ball, which we do. And you can see we get a good roll, and we just barely miss the yellow ring. Now, of course, nothing is 100% perfect, right? The only way that it's absolutely perfect is if you get a direct tailwind, crosswind, or headwind. With the wind flickering a little bit like we have there with crosswind, maybe we needed a little bit less backspin. Maybe we needed a little bit less right side spin. But regardless, it is a guide. It's not a perfect, thing. It's a guide to get you close to a hole-in-one. Now here is my second attempt. Like I said, I would do 2 shots at medium. In this situation, same thing, finding the landing spot and then applying the correct spin based off the graph. So in this situation, it looks like it was 4 back, 1/2 right. Make my ring pull. And another perfect ball. And as you can see here, the end result is a hole-in-one on the golden shot. I mean, it was dead center of the pin. So, you think about that realistically. We only took 2 shots at the golden shot, and we got 1 hole-in-one. So, I mean, I spent $1 on this account. And as you can see, the clubs that you get is really based off your overall trophy level. But it's really about getting 8 kingmakers there for $1. And again, I really value the hard edition more. And this is where people really get confused. Because if you just take a look at this, this is really noisy. It really looks like extremely confusing. So just like anything else, you have to take a couple minutes to study what you're doing. And for me, I just make up scenarios in my head. Like, okay, what if I get a direct headwind? What do I have to do? And I do this before I take the shot, just because I want to maximize, getting berserkers. But let's break this down really quick. So notice here in the middle, where we have all the arrows, notice that anything that's crosswind or tailwind is going to be in green. And notice the graph on the left here where it has all the wind and it has a landing position. So if you got any crosswind or any headwind, we're just going to reference the left side of this guide. If you get any type of headwind, we're going to reference the right side of the guide. Now, this week on this shot, the headwind situation is much more difficult to find the landing spot than it is on the green boxes, okay? The tailwind and the perfect crosswind. But regardless, if you get a crosswind or any type of headwind, of tailwind, you're going to line up your golden shot on this little fairway island. So you're going to bounce over from the fairway to the green. And it's a really easy landing spot to find because you need to be at complete max distance of your club. And you just put the red ring up against the left-hand side of the rough, which I'll show you. The rough bump option on the right-hand side is much more difficult because you don't have a really good point of reference to figure out how exactly he's taking the shot. All you can see is that your ball guideline is not fully developed, and he looks like he's aiming significantly right of the pin. And we'll take a look at some live ones to begin with. But remember, as soon as your golden shot starts, you have to memorize your wind. And in this one, I'm getting basically a perfect tailwind. So because of that, remember, we're going to be referencing the green part here. Perfect tailwind means I'm going to go 4 bars of backspin, 1/2 bar of right side spin. And again, we're going to use his reference here, his landing spot that he says to use, which is to make sure your club is at max distance. And as you can see here, I'm pushing up. I'm at max. And now I'm just going over until right there. The left side of the red ring is up against the rough line. And then from here, I just apply the spin. 4 back, half right, and then I pull the rings here. So 6.8 miles an hour was 4.1 rings according to the graph. And we did hit a perfect ball. And as you can see here, we come in just a little bit too hot, but we pick up a red ring. So not bad for our first attempt. You know, we'll take it. And again, you know, the prizes that you get are based off your trophy level and your highest tour unlocked. So, you know, if you were playing a brand new account on this and you've never been past Tour 2, you're going to get Tour 2 and Tour 3 prizes. You're not going to ever get like an Apocalypse or, you know, well, you might. You'd be very lucky. But you're not going to get like really high level clubs if you're playing a brand new account compared to like if you normally play Tour 10 or Tour 11. You know, you'll get better clubs in the golden shot. So here's another one. And in this situation, we have Tailwind again, mixed with Crosswind. So we're going to be lining up in the same area as we were last time. We apply our spin. So notice right here that I'm at max distance of my club, and that red ring is on that fairway, that little island, and it's right up against the rough line. That's exactly the landing spot that you're looking for. Another perfect ball. And, you know, that's the camera angle that you're looking for, and we sneak that one in for a hole-in-one. You know, I don't really care about the cards in the golden shot. I'm really just looking to get as many berserkers as I can because those come in really handy on some tournament holes. Now here's another shot. And this one's going to be a rough bump. And, you know, again, I just had a little bit of a hard time this week duplicating where he is landing at. You know, but I tried to aim pretty significantly right of the hole. But I would say the best advice I can give you if you have to line up here is notice how the ball guideline right there, like, obviously we can't take that shot because that's not a rough bump. So don't accidentally line up there. Make sure you move your target over to the right, that's where your ball guideline is not developed and it's showing a rough bump. From here, I pull the rings, and I can honestly say that this has never happened to me before in the golden shot. I hit a great ball, and I got a hole-in-one. It was actually dead center, so obviously I didn't line up correctly according to the graph, or else that ball wouldn't have gone in. But hey, you know, sometimes in a game, you have to get lucky, and we did here. But you can notice that I'm never missing the rings. You know, I'm always coming in on the rings and picking up some type of prize. So one more look at a rough bump here. Again, this is the harder one to execute, in my opinion. But we did get a hole-in-one on the island hop. We got a hole-in-one on the rough bump. And we pick up another red ring. Perfect speed. Just didn't line up 100% correctly. So there's some tips and tricks on the golden shot. If I missed to cover something, of course, just put something in the comments, and I answer every comment every week that comes in. So I appreciate everybody's support, and best of luck in your golden shot.